Today, I'm going to tell you about the first 5 financial moves I made after my wife died. I'm not an expert in grief and mourning, but I am an expert in my grief. And by training, I'm a certified financial planner, so I have some level of knowledge of financial services and personal finance. So I'm not going to touch on the emotional part today. At least I don't plan to. I'll address that in a future episode. And I have some ideas and some things that help me out and may help you out as well. But today, I really want to focus on the financial steps, those first things you need to take care of, kind of when you're in that numb stage. Your spouse has passed, your best friend in many cases, the love of your life, and now they're not here. Even if it was expected, you still don't usually expect it right when it happens. So we'll talk about a few things to address right away. And most things, though, can wait. Don't make any big decisions, especially financial decisions. Don't decide, I'm selling the house now, or I'm going to move away, or I've got to go start a new life somewhere, or sell all the cars or all the material goods. There's time for that. If you decide you want to do that, you can do that down the road. In the beginning, don't make any of those big decisions, but there are a few financially related decisions that are important to make right off the bat. So I'm going to tell you about those, tell you what helped me. Maybe it'll help you out along the way. So let's take a walk and I'll tell you about it. The first thing I'm going to suggest doing is probably the number one thing to do right off the bat, to get taken care of early on. You don't want to let this one go on for too long. And that is to contact the funeral home. Now, if your spouse passed in the hospital, they'll probably reach out to whatever funeral home you would like to use. And in my case, my wife had been to the hospital often throughout her life. She had a genetic blood disorder, sickle cell anemia, and the last dozen or so years of her life, she was not mobile, was confined to a wheelchair or a mobility scooter, and would have to go for periodic blood transfusions. And I thought, well, this is going to be another time at the hospital, and we'll be back home tomorrow. Well, it turned out it was a lot longer than that. And then when they told me probably I should contact hospice, I knew we were getting near the end. So it wasn't a surprise right in that moment, but still didn't expect it to happen when it did. So contacting the funeral home is probably the first thing if you haven't made arrangements beforehand. So we hadn't really made any arrangements, so set up an appointment with the funeral home. And of course they want to help you make decisions on a casket and what type of casket, or if you're not going to go that route, the cremation, and then if you'd like an urn, and just a basic one, or a little more nicer one, or a fancier one. Well, my wife loved butterflies, so I went onto Amazon and found a beautiful urn, relatively inexpensive, but it looked fine. I was happy with it. I think she would have loved it. And it even had 4 little matching miniature urns that you could put some ashes in and transport them if you wanted to go spread ashes in various places. So it worked out perfectly there. They were great at the funeral home. No pressure to upsell me. They let me know what was available, but they weren't upselling me. Oh, and this is good too. They'll ask you if you want death certificates. Yes, you do. And I think I got 10. Didn't use near that many, had a bunch left over, but you may need 10 or you may need more, so think about that. You may need a few death certificates to present to different institutions, banks and insurance companies, that kind of thing. So that, I would say, is the main thing to figure out right off the bat. That time is kind of the essence after someone passes, to make those funeral / celebration of life arrangements. Yeah, even at the funeral home I went to, they had a big party room that was modeled after a 1920s speakeasy. So if you really wanted to have a big time party and a celebration, you could do it there. I opted for a more conservative, regular banquet style room. But I thought, instead of spending money on the urn or the other things that you could upgrade in the actual funeral home, I decided to spend it on some food, some catering. So the funeral home had an arrangement with various restaurants, really nice upscale restaurants. And so we catered some great Spanish food. My wife was from Puerto Rico, so that was her favorite kind of food. And she could tell the difference between Cuban food, Mexican food, and Puerto Rican food, and any of the other islands. She knew the specifics. So I'm not sure I nailed the Puerto Rican, but at least we got those ingredients right. And by all accounts, it was a great celebration. So glad I did it that way. The one thing I forgot to do, I was hosting the whole thing and I was the MC as well as giving my wife's eulogy, because who better could do it than me, who had spent 27 years with her. Well, I wanted to record it so I could rewatch it later. Had the camera set up all ready to go before I walked up, but what did I forget to do? Yeah, I forgot to turn the camera on. So I never recorded that. But having said that, I think I'm recording now. And your first job after your spouse passes is to make arrangements with the funeral home. All right, let's go check out the rest of this park and I'll tell you more. All right, funeral home was number one. Number two, I'm going to say, is the Social Security Administration. Reach out to them as soon as it's convenient. This is not a major rush, but I think you should do it in the first few months after your spouse passes. You are due a lump sum benefit, a whopping $255. Yeah, $255. So probably not going to change your life, but it is due to you, so why not reach out and get that? In my case, my wife was taking some Social Security disability benefits based on her disability, her genetic blood disorder, based on the sickle cell anemia. And so I'm entitled to those too, if I choose. Well, if I wait until my full retirement age of 67, then I don't have to worry about taking those benefits and having them reduced because of an earnings limit. Because if you earn over a certain amount of money, 20,000 something, 22,000 or 24,000, somewhere in there, depending on the year right now. If you make more than that, then Social Security is going to hold back some of that. They say they'll make you whole in the end, but I'm not sure how they spread that out over your lifetime. So rather than get into that, I'll just wait until I'm 67, my full retirement age, and take those survivor benefits, spousal survivor benefits, and then wait on mine until I turn age 70, since mine would be higher. Plus, I'll get those bump ups from 67 to 70. So what I'm saying here is reach out to Social Security and find out what's due to you. And if you're not sure, find somebody who can coach you through that or work through that or make an analysis for you to see what would be the best course of action for you to take in your situation. The funeral home, the Social Security Administration, and now the insurance company. If your wife or your lost spouse had a policy with any insurance company, check in with them. Collect on that policy. That's where you'll need those death certificates to send to them. Now, in my case, because of my wife's disability, she was uninsurable. Sickle cell anemia, really hard, if not impossible, to get life insurance on a sickle cell patient. So, you've probably seen those ads from time to time in the mail. I think AAA, I always get them from AAA for those small lump sum policies with no underwriting, used mostly for paying off some bills or paying for funeral expenses. So I thought, well, you know what? It's more of an emotional thing here because my wife wasn't insurable, and to me, her life is invaluable, of course. There's no price you can put on it, but at least some price, some monetary value, some monetary dollar amount that if and when she passes, there'll be something that is payable on her life. So yeah, I opted for one of those. I kind of did an analysis to see if it would be worth it based on how long I thought she might live. And so when I called the insurance company, they didn't even ask for the death certificate. They were able to pull up her obituary online, and that satisfied them in that case. I think because the payoff, the death benefit was so small that they didn't need it. But anyway, it made me feel good that her life was worth something to me monetarily. And of course, I'm just saying that monetarily. Her life was invaluable to me. There's no price I could have put on it. So don't get me wrong there. There's no price you can put on your spouse's life. So insurance company would be the next call, and you'll already have those death certificates on hand that the funeral home helped you get. All right, let's move on to the next one. Come on. Next up, make a list of all the places your wife had an account. Banks, investment accounts, subscriptions. Yeah, that is a big one. What subscriptions did your wife have that you don't use? My wife, because she was not mobile and it was hard to go out, not impossible, we could put the scooter in the truck and go out and do things, but when you're constantly in pain, where would you rather be? Out somewhere having a nice dinner or in the comfort of your own home? Yeah, so a lot of time we just stayed home. And so she had to find some things to occupy her time and for entertainment. And she got into various gaming, which kind of not my thing. I didn't really get it, but she totally was into this one game. And the name escapes me right now, but apparently she was so far into it and had been doing it for so long. She was one of like the grand masters of this game. She had like 150,000 followers that would look up to her to teach them how to play the game and how to do some things, how to set certain things up. And it was unbelievable. When she passed, I got so many notices of condolences for her loss. Even the head of the company reached out to me and asked if they could make a memorial page to her as part of the game. And financially, they refunded a couple months worth of the fees, the monthly cost for her to be a part of that game. So it was really amazing what she had done there. So I would say a lesson for me, in addition to all the financial stuff there of reaching out and making those contacts with the various companies that may have accounts or subscriptions from your spouse, that maybe I could have probed a little deeper into what she was doing just to support her and show a little more interest, because I knew she was doing that. I loved that she had something that was fun for her, but I didn't get that she was such a big star in this game. So I'm so proud of her for that she had a lot of people following her and looking up to her. And I didn't even know about it. Secret life, a good kind of secret life. My last recommendation for you today in the Financial 5, the 5 things you do after you lose your spouse, at least it's what I did, was I reached out to our bank. We had a joint account, of course, and I thought the obvious thing to do was to take her name off the account. So I went down to the bank, walked in with a death certificate and was telling the person what was going on. And they asked, how long has it been since she died? And I think at that point it was only a month or two. And they said, well, why don't you wait a year and then come back and we'll gladly take her name off there. In the meantime, though, you might get things you're going to need both names on that account for. If some checks come in or there's something unforeseen, I don't know what it could be, but it seemed logical at the time, just to leave her name on there. It hasn't stopped me from using the account or doing anything. And just in case something did come in her name, I would be able to deposit that in the account without issues. So think about that. I'm not giving you legal advice or any personal individual financial advice. I don't know you, at least not yet. So But think about it. It seemed pretty commonsensical in that case. Yeah, leave her name on the joint account, at least for a little while. There's your list of the first 5 things I did after my wife passed. First 5 financial things I did. First off, and this one was timely, contact the funeral home. Make arrangements. And you don't have to spend, you don't have to go crazy spending a lot. One, your spouse probably doesn't want that. Believe me, you're not going to need that, and there are some pretty cost-effective ways to go about that. Number 2, reach out to Social Security and get that big death benefit, the $255. Hey, come on, man, that's a dinner. Or something you've been waiting on, or something you can pay off, or yeah, don't just lose it. Reach out to it. I think there might be a two-year limit before that could expire. So definitely you want to reach out and get that. And then figure out what your actual survivor benefits are. All right, we're not going to climb back over this tree here, because look at that nice big old puddle of water. Another time, maybe even this place though, I would do it, but yeah, today I think we'll leave that for another time. All right, so I said funeral home, Social Security, life insurance company. Reach out to any life insurance companies that you had a policy on your wife for, or that your wife had a policy on herself for. Yeah, I'm assuming you were the beneficiary of those. So yeah, you would know that. So reach out, find out what they need to pay the death benefit, likely a death certificate, but remember, you got those back at the funeral home when you were making arrangements. And then make a list of all your accounts, all the accounts your wife had that had her name and your name, joint accounts, or any subscriptions. Those seem to be the ones that pop up that are kind of surprising, the things that she was doing every month that, oh man, I didn't know that. But you can start eliminating hundreds of dollars worth of monthly subscriptions if you're not going to use them. So there's something to look at there. See, I'm talking about finances here, not the emotions of having to let these things go. We're talking strictly about from a financial perspective. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, the one that kind of surprised me, even though I work in financial services, hadn't thought of this one, that at the bank, removing her name rather, from our joint account, they suggested and recommended wait a year, just in case there were some things you would need her name on the account for if suddenly massive money started flying in via check and I needed to deposit those. Didn't happen, but I still think that was a good idea, to be a little conservative, and there's no rush to get her name off the account. So at least that's what my bank told me. Check it out for yourself, consult with your bank and see what they say. Their policy might be different, but it seemed like common sense to me. So those are the big 5. So if you're going through this right now, man, I feel for you. I know what it's like. It seems to come in waves. The grief comes in waves. And actually that first year, it's just like, man, you are numb. You don't even know how, looking back, you won't know how you got through it. So just trust that you will, that your mind and your body, you'll get yourself through this. But hang in there. And when you have those rough days, just say, this is normal. It will pass. It'll get better. It's going to take a little while, but it will. It's like waves start forming out in the water, welling up, crashing on the rocks, taking you with them, keeping you under, taking you back out to sea, and then somehow you surface, even if only for a day or two, and then the next wave comes, takes you under again, crashes you on the rocks again, takes you back out to sea. But then the days in between start spacing out. You'll have longer in between when you don't feel like your head is being held underwater. You'll never stop missing her, but you'll start reconciling it. You'll start feeling better about it. It'll happen. So my sincere condolences to you if you're going through this right now, especially if you're in the early stages. It's rough, brother. Hang in there. You're loved, man. You'll make it. Stay strong, stay tough. Keep praying, brother. You'll be good.